Welcome to this pre-recorded webinar designed to prepare educators for the May 2015 Performance Task Rubrics and Feedback Training Workshops. The workshops will be facilitated by 4 staff members from Measured Progress. Today's webinar is being hosted by me, Andrea Kugel. We all look forward to meeting you in May. The Maryland State Department of Education Formative Assessment, FAME team, that will be coordinating the May Professional Development Training Workshop consists of 3 specialists, Arlisa Ledbetter, Denise Stringer, and Melissa Finkel. Arlisa's contact information will be provided at the end of the webinar. Here are our objectives for this brief, but hopefully very informative, workshop preview. Please take a moment to read these. The last 2 bullets pretty much sum up the purpose of today's work. Our next slide will introduce the first bullet on the list. For many of you, this will be a reminder of what formative assessment is all about. For others, it may be a newer concept. We hope to support educators at every level of understanding at the May workshop event. The 5 key strategies of formative assessment are outlined here with examples of each strategy. We will go through them briefly. For those of you who have extensive knowledge in this area, we hope you may pick up a new idea. If you see any new ideas that you would like more information about, be sure to ask us at the event. 1. Sharing learning expectations can be everything from posting learning targets in the classroom to showing students examples of student work that meets the criteria for success. This strategy ties in very well with the May workshop event because we'll be focusing on the use of rubrics. 2. Questioning strategies, including wait time and hands-down questioning, help to support student involvement and level the playing field for students. 3. Formative feedback will be another major topic for the workshops. We'll be spending a day focused on giving students feedback for the performance tasks. 4. Self-assessment gives students an opportunity to use their metacognitive skills to think about where their understanding falls within a progression of learning. 5. Peer-to-peer learning and feedback increases student engagement and gives students an opportunity to deepen their own understanding of concepts as they work with other students. These are quotes from Maryland educators that recognize the high level of understanding that many of you have in regards to formative assessment. These quotes were captured in the chat box during previous professional development webinars this year. It will be great to have the chance to meet all of you who attended the webinars when we are there in May. You will see some of the next few slides again in May. This slide lists the 2 main objectives of the training events. By the end of the 2 days, we will have the materials needed to create a compendium of student work samples that have been assigned a performance level and formative feedback annotations. You, as educators, will play a major role in creating these materials. You will also have the training needed to take this back to your districts and use the materials to do the training there if you're interested in doing that. The following slides outline the process steps we'll be taking in the work we do next month. If you look at the bullets for each of the days, you'll see that we expect educators will come away from the 2-day workshops with some practical experience and tools that can be used next year. The first day is focused on looking at student work within a wide spectrum of learning, and the second day focuses on the implementation of descriptive feedback. We thought it might be helpful for you to see an example of the kinds of conversations that might take place during the workshops. This video provides insights into instructional connection of looking at student work and formative use of information. The video is approximately 3 minutes long. One question to think about as you watch the video might be, what is the value of talking about student work with a colleague in terms of planning for student success?
So these are some samples that I wanted to pull out too, because I started to notice that there are one or two students, as an example, and you can see she made herself a sad face, which is, you know, she knows that this was really hard, where she wasn't able to solve 9 times 7.
But it looks like she knew she needed to do 9 times 7.
She got that. I think she has 9 there, and then she added 7 more, because she's 16.
Right. She tried to make a fact family. Right.
So I think for her case, I can see there's some real
misunderstanding. It's almost like she knew she needed to skip count, but she didn't know what to skip count by. Because, I mean, that's what these circles are. I mean, that's how you show them skip counting, right? Like the circles usually represent it. But she counted by 1.
So I think that there's a group of kids, and she's definitely one, where I need to just work on the multiplication and division strategies. So I think because our card, I think it reflects the same problem of what we just saw, whereas the plan for the whole class is a little tricky, and then the actual mathematics of multiplication and division is tricky.
And you know, for those kids that had a hard time with it, with this kind of simple multiplication problem, they're not going to be ready to move on tomorrow to doing the multi-step ones. So that's going to have to be
I'll show you what. So this was their exit slip, and it was really clear. And the kids were even laughing about it after the lesson because they were saying, well, that's what we need to work on tomorrow when they saw this, because it was just really clear that they found the plan the most difficult step. So looking at this, I was thinking that tomorrow the place to start would obviously be with a whole group lesson on reteaching how to plan, because they're showing me really clearly, and I want to respect and make sure we follow up on what they care about, that they want to talk about this some more.
Is there any other time before the math lesson?
Well, I think what I can do is let them work on it while I pull a small group to work on the students who are not yet accurately solving.
And maybe you had talked yesterday about an extension that the kids didn't really choose. They had chose to stop late other kids instead of working on a more challenging problem, so maybe have a more challenging problem. If they're finished with those two, that the kids can work on, so it'll kind of keep everything.
And I think rather than move forward to a multi-step, because the plan is going to take on even more importance.
Exactly.
If they're still feeling this shaky about it, I think it's probably worth slowing it down rather than taking them to the multi-step.
I agree.
So hopefully that gives you some insight into the kinds of discussions that you might have. In order to support the first group activity on day 1, we hope that you'll be able to bring to the May meetings 1 or 2 rubrics that you use in your own classroom. They can be rubrics you've created or rubrics that have come from other places. They can be rubrics that students have helped to create. We will have a supply of rubrics for the activity as well. The first day, we will begin this process at our table groups after a whole group session about rubrics. Each day, we'll do some whole group learning, table group tasks, and individual tasks. For this activity, some educators will need to focus in a quiet space. This doesn't mean that everyone will. If you find collaborating with someone else for the first couple of tasks is helpful for you, we can arrange for that. The idea is that the first task will be a guided experience, and the second task can be done more independently. Range finding can be both interesting and complex. This will require a great deal of collaboration with your groups, and the facilitators will be on hand to support this work. We'll go more into what consensus means at the event. As we move into the second day, We'll spend some time in the morning as a whole group deepening our understanding of formative feedback. We'll introduce you to some new tools and spend some time trying out an activity or two. A critical component of formative feedback is determining the differences between evaluative and descriptive feedback. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and input about the distinction. Similarly to day one, we'll go through the process of providing descriptive feedback first with more guidance and then more independently. Some educators may want to change the configurations from table groups to partners or something else. We'll be looking for your input on what works best for you. Comparing and combining ideas for feedback is another very collaborative activity. Your feedback on will be highly valuable to teachers next year as they're implementing the performance tasks and then using the evidence of student learning to give their students descriptive feedback. So that the first day we're together goes smoothly, we thought it would be helpful for each of you to read through the tasks and possibly even take notes or try the task yourself. Of course, if you're a teacher who administered the tasks, you'll already be familiar with them. It will also be helpful to have a variety of rubrics for an activity that we have planned. You can always bring more than one or two if you are so inclined. We know that you may have questions as you watch this webinar. Please contact our Lisa Ledbetter for any immediate questions prior to the workshops. Otherwise, be sure to bring your questions with you to the workshop. Thanks for watching and listening. We are looking forward to seeing you next month.